You spend 23 years believing you are the center of your son's world, and then one Christmas morning, in front of everyone he knows, he tells you exactly where you stand. Somewhere between an afterthought and an obligation. Between the wrapping paper and the laughter, between the applause and the photographs, I discovered that my entire life of sacrifice had been assigned a value. $15. A Tim Hortons gift card, still in the plastic sleeve, not even signed. My name is Douglas Palmer. I am 64 years old, and I live alone in a 3-bedroom bungalow in Canada, just west of Ottawa, in the house where I raised my son after his mother died, in the house where I thought love was something permanent. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell because we share true stories like this every single day. Drop a like and let me know in the comments where in Canada you are watching from. Your support keeps these stories coming. That Christmas morning in 2023 started the way they all had since Sharon passed. I woke before dawn, 5:15, and lay in the dark listening to the furnace kick on and the house settle around me. 6 years she had been gone. Cardiac arrest on a Tuesday afternoon while she was pulling weeds in the garden. I found her when I came home from a job site in Barrhaven, still wearing her gloves, still kneeling in the dirt as if she had simply decided to rest. Some mornings I still rolled over expecting to feel the warmth of her side of the bed, and the cold sheet reminded me all over again. I showered, trimmed my beard the way Sharon used to like it, and put on the green flannel shirt she had bought me our last Christmas together. It still smelled faintly of cedar from the closet. A small thing, but it kept her close. In the kitchen I made coffee, strong and black, and sat at the table looking out at the backyard where snow had buried the garden she once loved. The bird feeder she had hung from the maple was still there, refilled every week by me, because stopping felt like letting go of one more piece of her. I had spent the previous evening wrapping gifts. For my son Kyle I had bought a new DeWalt cordless drill set, $340, because he had mentioned wanting one for projects around the house. For my daughter-in-law Megan, a cashmere scarf from that boutique on Spark Street, $160. For my grandson Lucas, who was 8, a telescope he had been begging for since September, $270, the kind with the motorized mount that tracks the stars automatically. I had also made tourtière from Sharon's recipe, the one her mother had passed down, the one that took 2 days of slow cooking to get right. Kyle used to say it was the only reason he looked forward to Christmas. I loaded everything into my truck, a 12-year-old Ford F-150 that still ran fine, and drove east toward Orleans where Kyle and Megan had bought their house 4 years ago. I had given them the down payment. $92,000 from the retirement fund I had been building for 30 years. Sharon would have wanted me to, I told myself at the time. She would have wanted Kyle to have a good start. The drive took 40 minutes through light holiday traffic on the 174. I passed the Canadian Tire where Kyle and I used to buy fishing gear on Saturday mornings when he was small, back when he still thought I was the smartest man alive. I passed the Tim Hortons where I would take him for hot chocolate after hockey practice, his skates still on, his cheeks red from the cold. Every landmark in this city held a memory of the two of us, and every memory reminded me of what I was about to lose. Kyle's house was one of those new-build colonials in a subdivision where every home looked like a copy of the one beside it. Beige brick, double garage, a wreath on the front door that Megan had probably ordered online. When I arrived at 11, there were already 6 cars in the driveway and along the curb. I recognized Megan's parents' Mercedes, her brother's Audi, and several vehicles I did not know. I carried my gifts and the tourtière to the front door and let myself in. The house smelled like cinnamon and roasted turkey. Holiday music played from a speaker somewhere. I could hear laughter coming from the great room at the back, the kind of collective joy that makes you smile before you even see the source. I set the tourtière on the kitchen counter and carried the gifts toward the tree. That is when I saw it. In the center of the great room, surrounded by at least 15 people, sat a brand new Ski-Doo Grand Touring, a top-of-the-line snowmobile with heated seats and a digital dash, still wearing a massive red bow on the windshield. Kyle stood beside it, beaming, his arm around his father-in-law, Ted Novak, a retired dentist from Orleans who owned a cottage on Lac Simon and drove a BMW and had never wanted for anything in his entire comfortable life. Kyle was giving a speech. I stood in the doorway holding my bags and listened. Ted, you have been more than a father-in-law to me. You have been a mentor, a business advisor, and honestly, a second father. This is just a small way of saying thank you for everything you have done for our family. Merry Christmas. The room erupted. Ted Novak, a tall man with silver hair and a permanent tan from his January trips to Turks and Caicos, climbed onto the snowmobile and pretended to rev the engine while Megan filmed on her phone. People clapped. Someone whistled. Megan's brother shouted that it was the greatest Christmas gift he had ever seen. I later looked up the model online. $42,000. $42,000 for a man who had known my son for 5 years. A man who had a cottage, a BMW, a dental practice pension, and absolutely no need for a luxury snowmobile. And me, the man who had raised Kyle alone since he was 27, who had paid for everything from braces to university to the roof over his head, I stood there holding a bag of gifts I had chosen with care, feeling the room shrink around me. Kyle noticed me a few seconds later. His expression flickered, something quick and uncomfortable crossing his face before the smile returned. Dad, hey, you made it. Merry Christmas. He reached into his back pocket and pulled out an envelope. Not wrapped, not in a bag, just a plain white envelope. He handed it to me with one hand while his other arm stayed draped over Ted's shoulder. I opened it in front of everyone, though nobody was watching. Inside was a Tim Hortons gift card. $15. No note. No card. Just the gift card and its plastic sleeve with the little sticker showing the amount. $15. I held it and felt something drain out of me. Not anger, not yet. Something deeper. The slow, nauseating realization that I had been lying to myself for years about how much I meant to my own son. Thanks, Kyle, I said. My voice did not crack. I would not give anyone that satisfaction. Very thoughtful. Nobody asked what I had received. Nobody noticed the contrast. They were too busy photographing Ted on his new snowmobile, passing around champagne, celebrating Kyle's generosity. Megan was already posting to Instagram, captioning the video with heart emojis and hashtags about the best husband ever. The only person who came to me was Lucas. My grandson appeared beside me quietly, the way he always did, like a small ghost with serious eyes. Grandpa, what did Dad give you? I showed him the gift card. Lucas looked at it, then looked at the snowmobile, then looked back at me. He was 8, but children see things that adults have trained themselves to ignore. That is not fair, he said simply. You always give us the best presents. You made the tourtière and everything. It is okay, buddy. Christmas is not about gifts. Then why did Dad make such a big deal about Grandpa Ted's gift? I had no answer for that. I ruffled his hair and told him to go play with his cousins, but he stayed beside me for most of the afternoon, as if he understood that I needed someone in my corner even if he could not articulate why. I left at 4:30. Kyle walked me to the door, gave me a one-armed hug, and said, "Thanks for the tourtière, Dad. We will call you this week, okay?" His attention was already back inside, where Ted was holding court, telling stories about snowmobiling trails in Muskoka. I drove home on the 417 as the sun set behind bare trees and snow-covered fields. The $15 gift card sat on my passenger seat like an accusation. And somewhere between Canada and my empty driveway, the crack inside me became a fault line. That night, I did not sleep. I sat in the office, the small room at the end of the hall where Sharon and I had kept every financial record of our lives in a row of filing cabinets she had labeled in her careful handwriting. I pulled the drawer marked Kyle and spread its contents across the desk. Private school tuition at Ashbury College when the local schools were not good enough. $12,000 a year for 6 years. $72,000. University at Western in London, Ontario. Room, board, tuition, books. $22,000 a year for 5 years because he switched programs halfway through. $110,000. The wedding. Kyle said he and Megan wanted something elegant but could not afford it. I paid for the venue, the catering, the flowers, the photographer. $38,000. The car he crashed at 24. I replaced it. $19,000. The down payment on the house. $92,000. A loan to start a consulting business with Ted's connections that collapsed after 7 months. $45,000, never repaid. Monthly assistance over the past 4 years, usually $1,000 to $2,000 for mortgage shortfalls, car repairs, Megan's expenses, Lucas's activities. Roughly $78,000. I added it 3 times. $454,000. Nearly $500,000 I had given my son over his lifetime. Not loans. Gifts. Investments in his future, in his happiness, because that is what fathers do. Or so I had believed. But it was not just money. After Sharon died, I had rearranged my entire life around Kyle's needs. I drove 40 minutes each way to babysit Lucas 3 days a week so Kyle and Megan could save on daycare. I spent weekends doing repairs on their house because Kyle did not know how to hold a level. I co-signed a second line of credit when their spending outpaced their income. I was available every time he called, day or night, for every crisis real or imagined. And on Christmas 2023, all of that was worth a $15 gift card from a gas station. Not even chosen in person. Probably grabbed from a rack beside the register while paying for fuel. I sat there until 3 in the morning, surrounded by receipts and statements, and something shifted inside me that would never shift back. The fog lifted. For years I had been making excuses for Kyle's behavior, telling myself he was busy, he was stressed, he did not mean it. But the pattern was undeniable. I gave. Kyle took. I sacrificed. Kyle expected. I loved. Kyle tolerated. And Ted Novak, a man who had contributed nothing to Kyle's upbringing, who had appeared 5 years ago at a dinner party, collected a $42,000 snowmobile and a speech about being a second father. The next morning, a Tuesday, I did something I had never done in 31 years of running Palmer Electrical Services. I pulled the company financial records from the secure cabinet and began a full audit. Palmer Electrical was mine. I had started it at 28 with a van, a toolbox, and a provincial license. Over 3 decades I had built it into a company with 14 employees, 3 service trucks, and contracts with half the commercial developers in Eastern Ontario. Revenue the previous year was $1.8 million. The company was valued at roughly $2.3 million. 3 years earlier, I had given Kyle a 25% ownership stake because I believed we were building a legacy together, because I thought he would eventually take over and carry the Palmer name forward. Kyle's role in the company was listed as business development. His salary was $88,000 a year. His actual contribution amounted to occasional lunches with potential clients and a monthly report I suspected Megan wrote for him. But the audit revealed something far worse than laziness. Over the past 2 years, Kyle had been withdrawing money from the company operating account. $5,000 here, $9,000 there, $14,000 for client entertainment that entertained no clients. The total came to $76,000 in unauthorized personal draws above his salary. I found receipts for dinners at expensive restaurants in Ottawa and Gatineau, some of them at establishments owned by Ted Novak's friends. I found a weekend trip to Mont Tremblant billed as a team-building retreat that included only Kyle, Megan, Ted, and Ted's wife. I found the purchase order for the Ski-Doo Grand Touring. $42,000, charged to Palmer Electrical's corporate visa 3 weeks before Christmas. My son had used my company, the business I had built with my hands over 31 years, to buy his father-in-law a snowmobile while giving me a $15 gift card bought with his own pocket change. I closed the file. I sat in the silence of my office and felt something beyond anger. A cold clarity, precise and absolute. Then I picked up the phone and called my lawyer. Arthur Fenn had handled my legal affairs for 22 years. He was 70, semi-retired, but still sharp enough to cut glass. I met him at his office on Albert Street that afternoon. I laid everything out. The gift disparity. The unauthorized withdrawals. The corporate card abuse. The snowmobile purchased on company funds. Arthur listened without interrupting, his pen scratching notes on a legal pad. When I finished, he set down his pen and looked at me over his reading glasses. Douglas, what you were describing is financial misconduct and breach of fiduciary duty. As a 25% shareholder and officer, Kyle had a legal obligation to act in the company's interest. He violated that obligation repeatedly. You have grounds to remove him from the company entirely, and frankly, grounds for criminal charges. No charges, I said immediately. He is still my son. But I want him out. Arthur nodded. As the 75% majority shareholder, you can call an emergency meeting and vote to remove him. His shares are worth approximately $575,000 based on the company valuation. However, given the documented theft, we can offset. I would recommend offering him $400,000 minus the $76,000 in unauthorized withdrawals. That is $324,000. Do it. There is also the matter of your will. My current will left everything to Kyle. The house in Canada, valued at $790,000. Investment accounts totaling $360,000. Savings of $118,000. The 75% of Palmer Electrical worth roughly $1.7 million. Minor assets bringing the total estate to approximately $3 million. I want to change it, I said. Today. We spent 2 hours drafting the new will. Kyle would receive exactly $42,000, the precise cost of Ted Novak's snowmobile. The symmetry was intentional and I wanted him to feel it. The rest was divided as follows. $700,000 to Lucas in a trust fund accessible at age 25, managed by Arthur's firm. $400,000 to the University of Ottawa Heart Institute Insurance Memory. $250,000 split among charities Sharon had supported. The house would be sold and the proceeds added to Lucas's trust. The 75% of Palmer Electrical would go to my nephew Scott, who had worked for me since he was 19 and had never once taken a day he had not earned. You are certain? Arthur asked. I have never been more certain of anything. We signed that afternoon with 2 witnesses. Arthur included a no contest clause. If Kyle challenged the will, he would lose even the $42,000. Wednesday morning I went to the Scotiabank branch on Hazeldean Road where I had banked for 28 years. I met with the branch manager, a woman named Rita Chen, who knew me by name. Mr. Palmer, what can I help you with? I need to remove my son from all joint accounts. Kyle had been on my checking account with $54,000, my savings account with $118,000, and a line of credit with a $75,000 limit. I had added him years ago for convenience and in case of emergency. Remove him from everything, I said. And cancel the corporate visa in his name. Rita processed the changes within the hour. By noon, Kyle's access to $247,000 in cash and credit was gone. That afternoon I met with Scott at the company shop in Nepean. Scott was 39, married, father of 3, and the best electrician I had ever trained. He had started as my apprentice, worked his way to foreman, then operations manager. He showed up at 6:30 every morning, solved problems without being asked, and treated every employee like family. He was everything Kyle was not. Uncle Doug, what is going on? He asked when I closed the office door. I told him everything. The Christmas gift. The financial records. The buyout plan. The will. Scott's face went through shock, anger, and sadness before settling on something like determination. Uncle Doug, I knew Kyle was not pulling his weight, but I did not know about the money. That is theft. There is no other word for it. I am offering you a path to take over this company eventually. If you want it. He stood and shook my hand with both of his. I will not let you down. I promise. I believed him. Sharon would have believed him too. She had always said Scott had the Palmer work ethic that somehow skipped a generation with Kyle. Everything was in place. The legal documents filed, the bank accounts secured, the will changed, the succession plan set. All that remained was waiting. I did not have to wait long. The earthquake hit on a Friday, 11 days after Christmas, when Kyle tried to use his corporate visa to pay for lunch at Becta, that upscale restaurant on Nepean Street, where he was entertaining Ted Novak and two of Ted's business contacts. The card was declined. He tried it twice more. Declined. Ted paid the bill while Kyle excused himself to call the bookkeeper, who told him his card had been cancelled by the account holder. He called me 9 times during that lunch. I did not answer. By 3 o'clock he was at the bank. Rita informed him, professionally and within legal bounds, that he no longer had signing authority on any account associated with Douglas Palmer or Palmer Electrical Services. Between 3:15 Friday afternoon and midnight, Kyle called me 48 times. I know because I counted. 48 calls. I did not answer a single one. The voicemails escalated like a fever. First one, 3:22. Dad, hey, can you call me back? Something weird is going on with the business card. Probably a glitch. Seventh one, 5:45. Dad, this is not funny. The bank says you removed me from everything. What is happening? Call me. 15th one, 8:12. Dad, please. Megan is freaking out. Did someone hack your accounts? We need to talk about this right now. 31st one, 10:40. Dad, okay, I know this is about Christmas. I get it. The gift card was lazy. I admit it. But you cannot just shut everything down without talking to me first. This is insane. 48th one, 11:58. Dad. Please. I am sorry. I do not know what else to say. Just please call me back. I sat in my armchair and listened to every single one. The last one almost cracked my resolve. Almost. Then I looked at the $15 Tim Hortons gift card I had pinned to the corkboard above my desk, and I remembered standing in that room full of strangers watching my son call another man his second father. The resolve held. Monday morning, Kyle showed up at the Palmer Electrical shop at 7:15. Scott called me immediately. Uncle Doug, he is here. He looks bad. He's demanding to see you. I will be there in 30 minutes. When I walked into my office, Kyle was sitting in the chair across from my desk. He looked like he had not slept in 3 days. His eyes were red, his clothes wrinkled, his face unshaven. He stood the moment he saw me. Dad. Thank God. Tell me what is going on. I sat down behind my desk, set down my briefcase, and opened it slowly. Sit down, Kyle. I do not want to sit. I want answers. Sit down. Something in my voice, a hardness he had never heard before, made him sit. I pulled out the first folder. This is a printout of every unauthorized withdrawal you have made from Palmer Electrical over the past 2 years. $76,000. The color left his face. Dad, I can explain all of that. This, I continued, placing the second folder on the desk, is a record of your corporate credit card purchases, including a $42,000 Ski-Doo purchased 3 weeks before Christmas and given to your father-in-law as a personal gift. That was supposed to be, I was going to reimburse that you used my company, the business I built over 31 years with my own hands, to buy a luxury gift for Ted Novak. And then you gave me a $15 gas station gift card. Not even signed. Silence. I have had an independent valuation done, I said. Your 25% stake is worth $575,000. I am offering you $324,000. That is $400,000 minus the $76,000 you stole. I did not steal anything, Dad. I am your son. It is a family business. A family business requires family who contributes. You drew a salary of $88,000 for work you barely did, and then you helped yourself to another $76,000 on top of that. In any other company you would be facing criminal charges. I am being generous. Kyle broke. Not the performative emotion I had seen him use on Megan when he wanted something, but real, ugly crying. His shoulders shook. His hands covered his face. Dad, please. This company is our legacy. Mom wanted this. She wanted us to build it together. Do not bring your mother into this. Your mother would be ashamed of what you have become. That hit him hard. He flinched like I had struck him. You are 33 years old, Kyle. I have given you $454,000 over your lifetime. I have babysit your son, fixed your house, co-signed your debts, and rearranged my retirement around your schedule. And on Christmas, in front of 15 people, you told Ted Novak he was like a second father to you and handed me a gift card worth less than a large pizza. I know. I know it was wrong. I got caught up in trying to impress Megan's family. Ted has all these connections, and Megan kept saying we needed to show we were doing well, and I lost perspective. I am sorry. Sorry does not cover $76,000 in theft and a lifetime of taking me for granted. I will pay it back. Every cent. Just do not take the company away. Please. The decision is made. Gerald, Arthur, is preparing the documents. You will receive the buyout within 30 days. You are no longer a shareholder or officer of Palmer Electrical. He stood, his grief hardening into anger. Fine. I will fight it. I will get my own lawyer. You can try. But a judge will see the same financial records I am seeing, and unlike me, a judge might recommend charges. That stopped him. He stood in the middle of the office, caught between rage and fear, and I watched the fight drain out of him. What about your will? He asked quietly. Am I out of that too? You will receive exactly what you gave me, Kyle. $42,000. The price of a snowmobile. His mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. 42,000? From a $3 million estate? The rest goes to Lucas, to charity, to people who actually show up. Who gets the company? Scott. The word hit him like a physical blow. Scott? You are giving my inheritance to my cousin? I am giving it to someone who has earned it every single day for 20 years. Something you never did. Kyle moved toward the door, then stopped. He turned back, and for a moment I saw the boy he used to be, the one who held my hand in the hospital hallway the day Sharon died, the one who said he would never let me down. I hope you can live with this, he said. Choosing pride over your own son. I am not choosing pride, Kyle. I am choosing self-respect. Something I should have chosen years ago. He left. He passed Scott in the hallway without a word. Grandpa? I looked up. Lucas stood in the doorway with his backpack, his winter coat still zipped. Kyle must have dropped him off for their Friday routine, our Friday routine, the morning Lucas spent with me at the shop before we went for lunch at our usual poutine place on Marivalli. Hey, buddy. Come in. Lucas walked past the spot where his father had been standing and climbed into the chair across from me. His eyes were serious, too serious for 8. Dad was crying in the truck, he said. He told me to go inside and wait for you. We had a tough conversation. Is it because of the gift card? My throat tightened. Even Lucas knew. Even an 8-year-old understood the insult that a room full of adults had ignored. It is about a lot of things, Lucas. Grown-up things. I told Mom the gift card was mean. She said I was being dramatic. You were not being dramatic. You were being honest. He nodded, satisfied with that answer, and we went to lunch as always. Over poutine and root beer at our usual booth, he asked, Are you and Dad going to stop talking? We are going through a rough time. But nothing changes between you and me. You understand that? I understand. He paused, then said, Grandpa, you deserve better than a gift card. Grandma Sharon would say so too. He was right. She would. The weeks that followed were quiet and painful. Kyle received the buyout check for $324,000 in late January. According to Arthur, he had tried to negotiate, threatened legal action, then ultimately signed the documents without another word. The money was real, but it was not enough to sustain the lifestyle he and Megan had built. The Audi Megan drove was sold. The gym membership was cancelled. The planned March break trip to Cancun quietly disappeared. I learned these things from Lucas during our Wednesday and Friday lunches, which continued without interruption. My grandson had become the only bridge between two men who could no longer speak. Mom is really stressed, Lucas told me over grilled cheese in February. She and Dad fight about money every night. Dad says it is your fault. Your dad is going through a hard time. He will be okay. He looks at job listings on his computer until really late. I can see the light under the door. That hurt. I will not pretend it did not. He was still my son, and knowing he was struggling triggered every parental instinct I had spent 64 years developing. But I had learned to distinguish between empathy and enabling. I could feel sadness without writing another check. In March, Megan called me. She asked to meet at a second cup in Orleans. Neutral ground. She looked exhausted. Thinner than I remembered. Dark circles under her eyes. Douglas, thank you for meeting me. I need to say something and I need you to hear it. I waited. I pushed Kyle to buy that snowmobile. My dad had been dropping hints all fall, and my brother had given Dad a trip to Portugal the year before, and I felt like Kyle needed to match that. I needed him to match that. I was embarrassed that we could not keep up with my family on our own, and instead of being honest about it, I pushed Kyle to use your company's money to put on a show. I never thought about what it meant for you. I never thought about the gift card. I was selfish, and I am sorry. Thank you for saying that, Megan. Kyle is not the same person. He barely sleeps. He knows he destroyed everything. He's seeing a counselor now, trying to understand why he did what he did. I am glad he is getting help. Your will. Lucas told me. 42,000. That is correct. And 700,000 for Lucas. He is the only person in this family who has never made me feel like an obligation. Megan's eyes filled. She wiped them quickly with the back of her hand. Can you at least talk to him? Let him apologize properly? When he is ready to apologize without asking for anything in return, he knows where I live. In April, something unexpected happened. Ted Novak showed up at my front door on a Saturday morning. I almost did not let him in. But curiosity is a powerful thing. Ted stood in my living room looking uncomfortable for what I suspected was the first time in his life. He was a man who moved through the world with the easy confidence of someone who had never been denied anything. Mr. Palmer, I owe you an apology. Sit down, Ted. He sat on the edge of Sharon's old armchair, and I let him, because that was who I was now. A man who could be generous without being a pushover. I did not know the snowmobile was bought with company money, Ted said. I did not know about the gift card. I did not know any of it until Megan told me last month. And I have to be honest with you, it made me sick. What do you want me to say? Nothing. I want to say that I am selling the snowmobile. I already have a buyer. The money goes directly to Megan and Kyle for their bills. It does not fix what happened, but it is what I can do. He paused. I am a father, too, Mr. Palmer. 3 daughters. If any of their husbands stood in front of a room and called another man his second father while handing his actual father a gas station gift card, I would burn the house down. I almost smiled. Almost. I told Kyle, more than once, to focus on his own family. To stop trying to impress me. He did not listen. That is not your fault, and frankly, it is not mine either. But I benefited from his poor choices, and I am not comfortable with that. Ted left after an hour. The snowmobile was sold the following week for $34,000, and the money went to Kyle and Megan's mortgage. I heard about it from Lucas. May brought the crisis I had been dreading. Lucas called me from the school office, something he had never done before. Grandpa, Mom, and Dad had a really bad fight last night. Mom packed a suitcase. Dad was yelling that everything is ruined because you hate him. Are we going to lose our house? My chest tightened. Lucas, listen to me. Your parents' problems are between them. It is not your fault, and it is not your job to fix it. But you could fix it. You have money. You could give Dad his job back. If I did that, your dad would not learn anything. And sometimes the hardest thing we can do for someone we love is let them figure it out themselves. Even if it is scary? Even then. After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen for a long time. The $15 gift card was still pinned to my corkboard, curling slightly at the edges. I stared at it and asked Sharon what she would do. Then I called Megan. How much are you behind on the mortgage? Douglas, we cannot. How much? $8,000. 3 months. I will cover it. But Megan, this is the last time. This is not for Kyle. This is because Lucas lives in that house, and his stability matters more than my principles. Do not let Kyle mistake this for weakness. I transferred the money the next day with a letter. One-time assistance. Not a reconciliation. Done entirely for Lucas. Kyle called that evening. For the first time in 5 months, I answered. Dad. His voice was rough, scraped raw. Megan told me about the mortgage. It is not for you. I know. She showed me the letter. A long pause. Dad, I have been going to counseling twice a week. I am starting to understand things about myself that I do not like. I was so desperate to feel important, to feel like I belonged in Megan's family, that I forgot I already belonged in ours. I treated you like you were permanent, like you would always be there no matter what I did, and I used that as an excuse to take you for granted. I said nothing. I let him talk. I am not asking you to change the will. I am not asking for the company back. I am not asking for anything. I just need you to know that I am ashamed of who I was, and I am trying to become someone better. That is all I ever wanted, Kyle. Not for you to be perfect. Just for you to try. We did not fix anything that night. There was no dramatic reconciliation, no tearful embrace, no promise that everything would go back to normal. But something small shifted, like a door opening half an inch to let in a sliver of light. It is now August 2024, and I am writing this from my backyard on a warm evening, listening to the crickets and watching the fireflies that Sharon used to love. Lucas is inside, eating leftover tourtière I made this morning using his grandmother's recipe. We spent the afternoon at the canal, skipping stones, and talking about constellations he had learned from the telescope I gave him last Christmas. Kyle and I speak on the phone once or twice a week now. Short calls. He tells me about his new job as a project coordinator at a construction firm in Gatineau. He earned $62,000, about a third of what he was making, but he earned the position himself, and I can hear something different in his voice. Something quieter. More grounded. We are not healed. I do not know if we ever will be fully. But there is a mutual respect now that did not exist before. Kyle knows I will not bail him out. I know he is learning to stand on his own. It is a different relationship than I imagined, but it is honest in a way that it never was. The will has not changed. Palmer Electrical is thriving under Scott's leadership. My house is paid off, and I spend my days between volunteer work at the Heart Institute, lunches with Lucas, and the occasional fishing trip with friends who know me as something other than someone's ATM. The $15 Tim Hortons gift card is still pinned to my corkboard. I have not used it. I never will. It sits there not as a symbol of pain anymore, but as a reminder that sometimes the smallest disrespects teach the biggest lessons. To anyone listening who has spent years being taken for granted by the people they love, let me tell you what I learned in the hardest year of my life. Setting boundaries is not cruelty. It is survival. Demanding respect is not selfish. It is necessary. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for your child is stop accepting the unacceptable, even when every instinct tells you to keep giving. Kyle is learning. I am learning. And Lucas is growing up understanding something his father forgot for a long time, that love without respect is just obligation, and no one deserves to live as someone else's obligation. This story does not have a fairy tale ending. But it has something I value more. Honesty. Dignity. And the quiet, hard-won peace of a man who finally, after too many years, chose himself without apology. If you found this story meaningful, please subscribe to Lullaby Revenge and hit that notification bell so you do not miss our daily true stories. Leave a like if this resonated with you and tell me in the comments what part of this journey affected you the most. Share what city you are watching from. I love hearing from viewers across Canada and beyond. Your support keeps these important stories coming. Thank you for listening to mine.